sustainability is not a short-term trend. It's a long-term shift in consumer behavior because it's not sustainable for us to continue to pump billions and billions of single-use plastic bottles and plastic items into the waste stream, into landfills, oceans, to get into our soil and ultimately into our food, into our bodies. As humans, we have that choice of whether we want to preserve our natural resources or overuse and misuse our natural resources, and ultimately where that would lead us. If you look at it on a global scale, bottled water is a $350 billion industry globally, and so there's a lot more growth to happen for us.
Hey, Shadi, welcome to the Lifestyle Investor Podcast.
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here.
Me too. And shout out to Jay and Steph Rose. They were on, a handful of months, but it was probably 6 months ago, because they've got a killer business. So go check out theirs. And they've got a really cool dojo studio here in Austin. You're also in Austin. So I'm excited to meet up in person sometime. But
yes.
Your story is incredible. You're doing a lot for the environment. You've built a company that is scaling, that really does good things in the world. And so I'd love for you to talk about Path, how you even came about the idea of Path, and really how you've gotten it to just, the trajectory is incredible. I'm seeing Path water bottles all over the place.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been a journey, When we started out, we're just young and kind of naive enough to think that we could tackle one of the biggest categories in the world, and we've made some big strides since then.
That's awesome. And by the way, did the business start because you wanted like cleaner water? Did it start because you wanted to eliminate the plastic waste? Like, give me the inception here.
Yeah, we were literally just a couple of young guys with a dream to build the next $1 trillion business, disrupt an industry, and really make it a change in the world. And I love building things. I love creating things. I'm a business background. So when we looked at, the story is we were just like a few guys sitting in the back of a pickup truck in a CVS parking lot in Northern California, and just brainstorming about what's the next big idea. And we walk into the CVS, look at the water aisle, and what we realized in that moment was that most of the innovation in the water space had been focused on the liquid inside of the bottle, but not on the actual container, the packaging itself. So we had this light bulb moment. Why don't we just put water in a refillable, recyclable, reusable aluminum bottle instead of single-use plastic?
Yeah.
And
by the way, now we're learning with single-use plastic, all the microplastics that are getting into our bodies from a health standpoint. So like you could talk about the angle of sustainability, better for the environment, better for, animals and your health. Yeah. But like now it's true, like these microplastics are getting all into our systems primarily from single-use plastic bottles. And correct me if I'm wrong here.
Yeah.
Path, I believe, created the first 100% refillable aluminum water bottle that's actually made and produced here in the United States, right?
Correct. Yeah. There's no, it's aluminum. We're the first refillable bottled water. So it's not just a bottle, but it actually has water in it. So it's your plastic bottle of water and your really durable, amazing, reusable bottle that you spend a bunch of money on. They merged together to create this hybrid product, which is providing sustainable options conveniently at a very affordable price. And, for a few bucks at the store to get not only a bottle of water, but also a reusable, refillable, and recyclable bottle at the same time, at a very affordable price, is something that's never been done before. And to this day, we're really the only ones that are continuing to charge forward for a number of reasons. We've been able to do some really creative things to create barriers to entry for anyone that might want to compete with us. And beverage business is not for the faint of heart.
I'm sure. CPG is tough any way you slice it. And, on top of that, you're an industry that there's just tons of competition, no matter how you look at it, whether it's hydrogen water or pH
Correct.
water or,
Right.
this quality of plastic, bottle, glass bottle. I mean, the list goes on and
Right.
on. One of the things that was interesting for me, so I don't know what like hotels and resorts you're in. I actually think the first time I had your water, I was staying at a super high-end resort that
Yeah,
had your product. And I was like,
totally.
oh, what a brilliant idea.
Yeah, I mean, we do water for one hotels, Four Seasons. I mean, Hyatt's, Marriott's. I mean, the list goes on and on and on.
Yeah.
Um, Hotels is a big opportunity to really make an impact because they go through so much water, and most water in general is in a single use plastic container. So, even with the trajectory that we've had and the success that we've had, we're still a very, very small piece of the pie. If you look at it on a global scale, bottled water is a $350 billion industry globally.
Wow.
And so there's a lot of more, there's a lot more growth to happen for us.
That's incredible. Yeah, some nice TAM right there.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this: like, give us your background. Like, I think you were
Yeah.
in private equity at one point.
Yeah.
I think you've been in tech. Like, you're kind of in. Austin's become this like convergence or confluence of basically tech, wealth creator, entrepreneur, influencer. It's really
Right.
interesting, all the different types of people that are kind of making up Austin today. It's fascinating.
Yeah.
And I feel like your background is a little bit of a few of those.
Yeah. No, it's a somewhat of a wide variety of background and somewhat focused. I would say, um, coming from immigrant parents that came to the US with very little, um, my goal was just create as much financial wealth for my family as possible, as quickly as possible, and kind of break everyone out of the pressures of financial burden and and all of that. Um, so that really drove me. I studied finance and economics. I worked in private equity for a little while, loved it, but had another opportunity to work in consulting at Booz Allen Hamilton. So I took that opportunity, hated it.
By the way, it's
Um,
funny that you hated it because most people like you've made it. Like they have such a
right,
big name. It's like the
right,
industry standard. But
right,
man, if you
exactly.
don't love it, you got to leave.
Oh my God, it was the most boring job I've ever I've ever had, and
Oh
I've had a lot of
man.
jobs.
Well, I'm glad you left it started path.
Yeah. So I mean, after that, so throughout my even throughout school, throughout high school, college, I had various ventures that I started with friends and things like that, and co-founders, and some had mild success. Obviously nothing to the scale of what we're building with Path, but little hustles and ideas that could have been really big if we stuck with it, but I kind of took them all as learning lessons. There were probably five of them. Some of them never really got off the ground. Some of them were just a business plan. And then some of them, we actually had some customers. It varied. But, um, but yeah, I was kind of looking for my next gig after consulting, moved back from Virginia back home to California, where I'm born and raised. And I took a job in wealth management. And long story short, 2 weeks after taking the job, I found out that it was not the right opportunity for me, quit. Um, and I'm like, you know what? Screw this. I'm gonna start my own thing.
Well, back
And
to back duds, you may have learned that you're just unemployable
yeah,
and
exactly.
you better go out and do something cool on your own.
Yeah. I just always believed that if someone just gave me the opportunity to show my potential, I would do whatever it took to like I will show you what I can do,
Yeah.
and I'm very like, I don't want to say competitive, but I have a deep-seated belief that I can just like work my face off, and that whether I succeed or not, like I think success is relative, right? But it's like I look at it as more of a long-term game. Like it's not what am I gonna do in 2 years? Am I gonna be a millionaire, and am I gonna go from 0 to 10 million in 2 years or 10 years? I look at it as like, what can I do in 40 years, 50 years, you know?
Yeah.
And I think if you look at it that way, it kind of like removes the like expectation that, you have to have this like crazy business trajectory and become a billionaire and all the stuff you see on Instagram, which 90% of it is fake anyways. Um, so I think looking at it that way is like you're just learning the entire time, and you're just growing, and you're building your Rolodex, your skill set, you're sharpening, your as an entrepreneur, you're sharpening your um sales techniques, you're sharpening your fundraising, your just everything across the board, right? So um I think having that long-term view has served me well. And if I had a shorter term view, which don't get me wrong, like when we started the business, I was like, this is going to be $1 billion business next year, and here we are 8, 10 years later, like just continuing to build it, but we're having a ton of fun with it. And, I wouldn't trade it for anything.
Well, I think Jim Collins in the book Good to Great talks about having a BHAG, a big,
Mm-hmm.
hairy, audacious goal. And so I
We
think
do.
that you're doing exactly that. And when I think about the numbers here, you guys' path has successfully eliminated over 500 million plastic water bottles from oceans and landfills, which is incredible. But again, you're talking about, hey, in the next few years, how do we eliminate over 10 billion?
Right.
That's making the world a better place, while also providing good quality water that's not leaching plastic from it, that's in a reusable bottle.
Right.
And that really kind of like pushes the narrative of drink more water. It's good for you. Drink half your
Yes.
body weight in ounces of water every single day, and bring your to-go container so you're not also absorbing all the toxins and microplastics and all the particles that are going to be in these single use or single serve plastic containers.
Right. And it's not just microplastics. There are a lot of chemicals.
Yes.
The PFAS is one that's popped up and that people are really, trying to avoid these days. There's antimony. There are all these chemicals that leach into the water that, what are you really drinking at the end of the day when you're drinking out of a plastic bottle? It's kind of crazy.
Well, yeah, and the purification process, and I say that in quotes if you're just, if you're not watching, you're just listening. I mean, a lot of these companies standard to actually purify water. So, I mean, first and foremost, if you're drinking water out of the tap, most cities have a very low standard for what is considered clean water. So you have all kinds of stuff that you're consuming. So then you can kind of go to the next level and you can, purify that. But there are these companies that, have quote unquote purified water, but their bar of purification is so low, it's not reducing hardly anything. In
Right.
some instances, these companies have been caught actually just bottling tap water,
Right.
and selling it as
Right.
spring water. It's crazy.
It's crazy. It's crazy. So I mean, tap water is not bad. Like New York tap, people swear by it, and I think it's pretty high quality. San Francisco, where I'm from, they get it from the Hetch Hetchy Reservoir. So, but now I'm living in Austin. Like Austin water is horrible. Do not. I do not recommend drinking Austin tap water without having like a really high level purification system.
Well,
Um,
we're a bit of health nuts in our family. The Donald family, we've been doing reverse osmosis and whole house,
nice.
carbon filtration systems for, the showers. I mean, for everything, literally
Yeah.
like the entire home for, over a decade.
Same.
Because, we're just, I mean, when you think about it, it's like, what's the thing that you need more than anything in life? Like the highest
Water.
priority, it's air and water. right?
Right.
And then food. So it's like, if we're going to be obsessive about something, we're going to be obsessive about the quality of air. So we have all these air filters. We're going to
Sure.
be obsessive about the quality of water. So much so that we even test. I've sent off to labs the tests of the different systems. So what is the water with just the carbon filter? What is the water, coming out of the fridge's filter after going through our carbon filter? What is the water on the reverse osmosis? And we also like add, elements back into the
Right.
water from the reverse osmosis. And then obviously
Yep.
with food, we eat, super clean, super organic. Um, to me, it's like that's where that to me is a must. Like that's foundational for us. So I love what you're up to.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, you're reminding me that I gotta get an air purifier and a couple of other things. So, good little tokens there. But
So what does it
yeah,
take to scale a purpose-led company into the fastest growing beverage brand in the country?
yeah, it's look, having a purpose-led organization is actually a huge plus for any company because it it rallies everyone to a single goal. And you talked about the BHAG, the big, hairy, audacious goal, right? It's like we're all doing something. And yes, everyone wants to make money. Everyone wants to put food on their table. Everyone wants to, know that they're being valued for the work that they're putting in, right? That's just, we have to survive as humans, and that's a necessity. But when you're doing that while also doing something that's just taking things to the next level, and you feel like, wow, I'm like, if you're making a bunch of money but you're hurting people, it kind of like, you might second guess, am I doing the right thing? I could be making money in other ways. But if you're really succeeding financially and succeeding in many other ways, and one of the most important ways is through social good, right? Like, how am I giving back to the community, to the world at large, you know? And so for us, the way that we look at it is, it's not just, yes, our product is better for the environment, better for your health. We're getting rid of plastics. We're getting rid of microplastics. We're getting rid of chemicals. We're changing the way that consumers think about consuming all products, not just water, on a day-to-day basis by giving them the opportunity to refill and reuse. All that stuff is great. But then we're doing stuff like, recently, we just launched for the third year in a row an autism awareness bottle because we have some people in our community that are connected with the world of autism, and
That's
and
awesome.
we just did a Made in USA bottle that we're able we're doing different cause-based kind of activations that allow us to take the business success and actually use it as like a platform for these causes and bring them onto a larger stage. Because yes, we're in over 75,000 stores across the US today. So if we're doing some sort of cause-based promotion, we're not just promoting our own brand and our product, we're promoting this cause, we're bringing awareness to it, and it's something that people really care about. So that it's a win-win for everyone. Um, so having an organization like that, I think, and again, you don't have to be saving the planet from single-use plastic bottles to be a purpose-led and purpose-driven organization, right? There's so many things you can do to drive social good. Um, but when you're an organization that has that as one of its core tenets, it allows you to really maintain a team, a group of stakeholders, investors, just kind of build an army of people that want to see this organization succeed and grow and become larger, because it's more than just financial gains. Um, and so I honestly think that's why we've gotten to where we are today is because, yes, we have a team that's dedicated, that's really smart, that's doing everything in their power to grow and, to learn and take feedback from the market. But there's an X factor, right? And yeah, I can dive into like all the little tactics that we've done, and there's so much there. But just having an organization that's based and built on that, I think, increases employee retention, decreases turnover, gives another reason for people to want to be on the path with us, pun intended.
Yeah, I love it. Hey,
Yeah.
so when I invest, I've been investing for, about 25 years and let's call it 15 or so, maybe a little more, 15 or 16 or 17 years in alternative investments. So,
Yeah.
one of the things I look for is spotting trends. I want to know what a trend is that is going to become mainstream. So, super early on in my investment career, I got into mobile home park investing and people thought I was crazy, but I recognized a trend. I also recognized a supply demand imbalance. And so when people told me not to do it, I did it because I just knew the economics around it, or at least I
Genius.
believed it, right? And then I got into single family home maintenance and started a company in that space because I recognized that we went from primarily people owning their own homes, but then the global, the GFC happened 2008 to 2012, and towards the tail end of that, you had institutions that were coming in, scooping up homes by the hundreds and thousands and 10,000s. And so we built a company to service those homes because we knew there was no way they could do it at scale in different, markets. And so that company
Wow.
has done very well. And, I could go on and on and on with different things. I started investing in AI literally 10 years ago. I started investing in
Wow.
robotics even before that. So let's call it 11 or 12 years ago. And so I'm always looking for what is the trend that, what's going to become mainstream that's not? What's an invisible deal? What do most people not see? Like right now, I'm looking at millennials because they're the ones that are going to control over the next, 5 to 20 years. They're going to control the vast majority of the wealth in the U.S. There's going to be somewhere around $100 trillion that's going to be handed down to them from baby boomers. So it's like understanding what their desires are. What do they like? What do they dislike? How do they like to travel? How do they like to live? What do they do for recreation? What, causes that are important to them? You're already seeing this trend with alcohol that is totally dipping.
Yes.
Baby boomers are the highest consumers. And then, you drop down, to Gen Z and it's less. You drop down to millennials, it's even less, or Gen X rather, and then drop down to millennials and drop down to Gen Z.
Right.
And so that's a big time trend that, millennials aren't drinking, right? And so it's so we can learn a lot through this. So what I'm curious about, I don't believe, this refillable economy is a trend. I believe this is here to stay. I wonder what type of market research you've done to know what trends look like for refillable, reusable water bottles, that economy that Path is paving the way for.
Sure. I love how you state everything because I couldn't have said it better myself. I mean, look, there are in the beverage space, if you look at just beverage specifically, there are these, to your point, there are these short-term trends. We saw, for example, kombucha. Everyone was on the kombucha hype, coconut water, more recently, prebiotic soda, right? These are things that I think they have specific consumer tastes and preferences. And so, yes, they can catch on. They can be good for you. That there's a better for you wellness type of theme that's happening in general. But when we look at sustainability as a whole, I think it's the reason that you have all of these major, macro funds like the BlackRocks and those of the world that have specifically set aside a large pool of capital for ESG and sustainability, right? Because in my mind, sustainability, to your point, is not a short-term trend. It's a long-term shift in consumer behavior, right? Because it's not sustainable, for us to continue to pump billions and billions of single-use plastic bottles and plastic items into the waste stream, into landfills, oceans. They go into microplastics, they get into our soil and ultimately into our food, into our bodies. So the news is, really starting to hit now. And, as humans, I think we catch things on a little bit late. We kind of procrastinate on things. And now They're literally finding plastics in our brains. They're finding plastics in embryos. So now, New York Times headline, there's finding hundreds of thousands of microplastics in a bottle of water, and now people are becoming really aware of it, which is fine. Like, and hopefully we can work to kind of reverse that. But to be honest, most of the plastic that has been produced in the world, I think it's some statistic, don't quote me on it, but it's the large majority, over 75% of plastics that's been produced in the history of mankind has been produced over the past 3 years. So it's not like
Wow.
we're like slowing down, right?
Wow.
I mean, I can order something on Amazon and have it here like in an hour, right?
It's so crazy.
So we live in this like stuff economy, right? So there has to be some sort of change, or else, just like any organism that comes in, if you have a fungus that comes into a lake and it starts to grow and grow and grow and feed off of the whatever it is in the lake, well, eventually, if it grows too big, then it has nothing else to feed off of, then it's going to actually die off. So as humans, we have that choice of whether we want to preserve our natural resources or we want to overuse and misuse our natural resources, and ultimately where that would lead us. So I think there's hope, and I think there are a lot of people, organizations that are driving to make these changes that are necessary. And I think, as humans, we're very solution oriented and we can figure it out. But I love how you think about investing. Like, it's really cool to hear. I think it's very like contrarian mindset in a lot of ways, which is exactly how we built our business as well. And I think that's when you really identify like these massive wins that, to your point, like may have been invisible, right? 10 years ago, and people were talking about AI, but it was more of a whisper. And
That's
now
right.
people are like screaming at it and throwing money at it, and everyone and their mother thinks that they can have an AI business
That's
that's,
right.
optimizing XYZ, and I can raise $50 million for it and, get this sovereign wealth fund behind it, and this and that, right? And so it's interesting times for sure.
It is. Well, Shadi, I love what you're up to. I love Path. I love your water. I love your technology here. And I wish you the best. Where can people learn more about you and more about Path?
Yeah. We are online at drinkpathwater.com, at Pathwater on Instagram. My Instagram is at Shadi Bakour. I'm also on LinkedIn and all the social platforms. So please reach out. We'd love to find ways to collaborate and get you some good hydration.
And by the way, we do a lot of events in Austin, so I feel like we should probably team up and do something there. I bet you
Yeah.
there's a lot of things, and we have good size events. Like there's all kinds of stuff I feel like we could do. So let's circle back.
Yeah.
We've got an event coming up in September 8th and 9th, here
Let's
in
do
Austin.
it.
It'll be a live event.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's a bunch of cool things we can do. So let's chat about it. So excited about connecting with you. Thank you for the time. And
Thank you.
I love ending our podcast with a question for the audience. What is
Sure.
one step you can take today to move towards financial freedom and really move towards living a life you truly desire that's on your terms? So again, not a life by default, but a life by design. Thanks for checking in here this week, and we'll catch you again next week.